welcome to another fun video brought to you by Bookishly Mandy. Yeah! Today we are going to be doing my August wrap-up part 2 because I read too many books. Seriously, how did I read so many books in August? I have no idea. We left off on my part 1 video wondering if I read all of the books in the Raven cycle. Well, your cliffhanger is over because yes, I did read the final book, The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. Once again, I can't go into detail without spoiling the entire series, but I will say I rated this 4 stars. It wasn't the 100% satisfying ending that I was looking for, but it was still good. One relationship that developed in this book completely threw me off guard. I was watching reviews of this book and some people were saying that it had been hinted in previous books, and apparently I just sped through them so fast that I missed all the hints. I'm oblivious. What you gonna do? I don't even have to mention it again, but I will. Writing style was amazing. I want to pick up everything that Maggie Stiefvater's ever written now, even though I know that people say that The Wolves of Mercy Fall isn't as good, and I read that, but it was a long time ago, so I don't remember anything about it except that people turn into wolves during the winter. That's all. The next book that I read was When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon. I think I probably butchered her last name and I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if I wanted to read this book. I know I've heard a lot about it on BookTube and I've been running out of contemporaries to read, so I picked it up. And when I started reading it, I was surprised at how into the plot I was. This is about a girl named Dimple who comes from a traditional Indian family. Actually, both of the characters, Dimple and Rishi, come from traditional Indian families. Dimple is not into the tradition as much. She wants to go to college to go into web design and software development, and she wants to follow her own path. Her parents agree to let her go to Insomnia Con, which is basically a summer program where students get to come together and learn more about app development and to develop their own apps. Well, little does she know, her parents have arranged for her to meet Rishi, who is the son of some of their friends, and Rishi is very traditional. He is very in line with all of his parents' traditional beliefs. He is going to school at MIT because that's what his parents want him to do, and he is all for being set up with Dimple, only Dimple doesn't know. So they meet and it is wonderfully awkward. I loved the scene where he came up to her and introduced himself. I'll say I was really into about the beginning quarter of this book. And then the second, I guess half, the second 2 quarters was a little slow and I just wasn't sure where the story was going, but I liked the ending. So it started out strong, fizzled in the middle, and then ended strong, if that makes any sense. So because of that, I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was featured on my Books That Need More Love video that I posted earlier in August. I'll link that down below. Basically, I filmed that video and then got the hankering to read this book. This is one of my favorite books of all time. And that is These Is My Words by Nancy E. Turner. This follows a girl named Sarah who is living with her family in the Arizona territories in the late 1800s. We follow a 20-year period, so we get to see a big portion of her life. It does focus a lot more on probably the first 6 to 7 years of this 20-year time period. After that, there are a lot more gaps between when she's writing, but life gets busy. But I love this story. I love her romance. In the scheme of how long things are taking place in, it takes a long time for this romance to build up, which I really enjoy. And I still rate this 5 stars, but I gotta tell you, bring a box of tissues, at least for the ending. It's fabulous. I love it. The next book that I read / listened to was The Library Book by Susan Orlean. This was a nonfiction book. It was my nonfiction pick for the month because I try to read a nonfiction book every month. It's basically about, in 1986, there was a library fire in Central Library in Los Angeles. It was one of the biggest library fires in modern history and it destroyed so many books. So she is going through the events of the library fire, but also giving history of not only libraries in Los Angeles, but libraries in general. I enjoyed all of the information presented to me in this book, but I also felt like it kind of jumped all over the place and I wasn't always sure where we were going. So even though I did enjoy the information, I only gave this a 3-star rating. The next book that I read was Romana by Nadine Brandes. This book was all over BookTube when it first came out, but I haven't heard anything about it since. When it first came out, I put a hold on it at the library and it came through this month, so I had to read it. Now, as I'm sure everybody did, I loved the Anastasia movie as a kid, and because of that, I do enjoy reading Anastasia stories, even though the cartoon had nothing really to do with her real life. This book is basically historical fiction with magic thrown in, and I really wanted to like this. I liked the beginning, but about halfway through, it became kind of confusing and I had no idea where the story was going or really what the point of telling this story, adding magic in, was. And overall, I just think it did not succeed the way that I hoped it would. So I only gave this a 2-star rating. I was disappointed. This was my first Nadine Brandes book, but I do follow her on Instagram and I really like her on Instagram, and so I really wanted to like her book. Unfortunately, I just didn't. 2-star rating. That's okay though. The next book that I read was Ghosts of the Shadow Market by Cassandra Clare and a lot of other people. How does it work when Cassandra Clare does these like mini stories where it's by her and the other person? How much is written by her and how much is written by the other authors? I don't know. If you know, let me know. I don't know exactly how this all works out. This story took place over many years following different characters, but same characters underlying, if that makes sense. I know that there are a few people that I follow that have recently started reading The Mortal Instruments, and so I don't want to spoil anything. I'll just leave it at that. It was a collection of short stories. Some of the stories were better than others. I enjoyed some more than others. Overall, I give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't my favorite, all-time favorite Cassandra Clare book, but it wasn't my least favorite, and overall, it was fun. I'm still contemplating whether or not I want to proceed on with her next series. I don't know. The final book that I read this month, I actually didn't think I was going to be able to include, but I just got swept into it, and that was 99 Days by Katie Cantugno. Once again, I wanted to like this book, and at the beginning I did. I was really drawn in, and then the main character started making really bad choices. Basically, the main character, her name is Molly, and she fled town a year previous when her mom wrote about her love life in a novel that she published, and it completely ruined everything with her boyfriend because there was something that happened with her boyfriend's brother and the book brought it to light. So she comes back and everyone in town hates her except for the brother of her ex-boyfriend, so she starts to befriend him and starts making really bad choices from there. That's all I'm gonna say. Sorry if that spoils the book. All I can say is just I was hoping for a lot more out of this book because the premise seemed fun. I was excited because I know that Katie Cantugno has quite a few young adult books out. They're contemporaries, and I was hoping that I found a new contemporary author to read all of her things of, like with Casey West. But alas, this was not the case. If you know of any really good YA contemporaries, let me know. I am open. I feel like I'm running out of contemporaries to read, and I read them so much faster than fantasies. Anyways, I only gave this 2 stars. Disappointing and not a good role model for teenage girls. So there you have it. We have made it to the end. We finally got to the end of all 21 books. I will post links to the other videos where I talk about what I read in August below. Let me know what you read in August. Were you disappointed by anything like I was? Were you pleasantly surprised by anything like I was? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. As always, if you liked what you saw today, feel free to click subscribe. You can also follow me on my social media, which I will link below. I hope you're having a great bookish day and that you have a fruitful September reading month. Bye!